All right, so i- have you ever like really looked at a dining room and like thought about all the different elements that make it work? Like you probably noticed the table, maybe the lighting,
Hmm.
but did you ever stop and think about the fabric on the chairs?
Yeah, it's funny because it's one of those things that can really make or break the whole look and feel of a space.
It really can.
Yeah,
And it's actually way more complex than you might think. I mean, there's so much that goes into choosing the right fabric for a dining chair.
it's true. Most people just think about the look, but there's a whole world of factors to consider. Comfort, durability, and how well the fabric holds up over time are all really important.
Totally. And that's exactly what we're going to be diving into today.
We are.
We've got this really cool guide called Choosing the Best Fabrics for Dining Chairs.
It's awesome.
It's geared towards furniture buyers,
Hmm.
but we thought, even if you're not out shopping for chairs right now, there's a ton of interesting stuff in here that anyone could appreciate.
Absolutely. I mean, you use chairs every day, right?
Yeah.
Whether it's at home, at a restaurant, or even at work.
Yeah, for sure. So understanding the factors that go into choosing the right fabric can help you appreciate good design even more and also just make more informed choices about the spaces you're in.
Yeah, I think so too.
So this guide covers like a whole bunch of different fabric types.
It does.
We've got cotton, linen, leather, velvet, microfiber. We've even got some fabric specifically for outdoor furniture.
Lots to talk about.
Yeah. But even before we get into like the specifics of each material, the guide makes this really interesting point that fabric choice impacts way more than just how a chair looks.
For sure. And I think this is where it gets really fascinating, especially if you start to think about it from a business perspective.
Okay, how so?
Well, imagine like you're a business owner, right?
Yeah.
And you're hosting a big client dinner at a fancy restaurant.
Okay, got it.
But, and this is a big but, the chairs are, well, they're just uncomfortable. Like really uncomfortable. Everyone's fidgeting and shifting around. No one can wait to get out of there.
Oh, I can see how that would be a problem.
Oh,
It's definitely not setting the stage for like a successful meeting or a good impression, right?
exactly. The fabric you choose for those chairs affects not just how they look, but how comfortable they are, how long they'll last, and even how satisfied your customers or guests will be. It all ties together.
That makes a lot of sense. I guess I never really thought about it that way before.
Yeah, it's easy to overlook.
So let's get into some of these specific fabrics.
Let's do it.
Let's start with the classics. Cotton and linen.
Mm,
Um, Cotton, it's soft, it's breathable, it's got that kind of casual, comfy vibe.
definitely.
But, and full disclosure here, it's also kind of a magnet for stains. And it's not always the most durable option out there.
And that's mainly because cotton is a natural fiber, which has its pros and cons.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense. So are there ways to kind of improve on that?
There are. Blending it with something like polyester can help a lot with the durability issue.
Interesting. So you can kind of get the best of both worlds that way.
Exactly.
Okay, cool. Now, what about linen? Linen always looks so crisp and, I don't know, sophisticated.
It really does. Linen's got this elegant, airy look that's perfect for a more modern aesthetic.
Yeah.
And it's breathable too, which is great for comfort. But there's a reason why you mostly see it in homes rather than, say, in busy restaurants.
Mm. Is it because it wrinkles really easily?
Bingo. Linen's got these natural fibers that make it wrinkle pretty easily.
Ah, okay. So that relaxed, kind of lived-in look is great for a home, but maybe not so much for a high-traffic setting.
Right. Plus, it's not as durable as some other options.
Yeah.
Something to consider if you're furnishing a place that gets a lot of use?
Right, right. So linen, beautiful, but maybe best saved for spaces where it won't get too much wear and tear. Okay, so moving on, let's talk about a fabric that just like screams sophistication.
Oh, I know where you're going with this.
Leather.
Leather. Classic choice for dining chairs. And for good reason. It's durable, easy to clean, and it develops that amazing patina over time.
It really does. But I know there are different types of leather, right?
Right. And it's important to know the difference. Genuine leather is, well, it's the real deal. Top-notch quality, luxurious feel. But it comes with a higher price tag, of course.
Of course.
Now, faux leather, that's a more budget-friendly option, and it's come a long way in terms of quality and how it looks.
So it's a decent alternative.
Definitely. Might not last as long as genuine leather, but it's still a good choice if you're looking for that balance between cost and durability.
Makes sense. So there are good options at different price points, which is always nice.
Always.
Okay, so let's move on to something a little more luxurious. Velvet. There's just something about that soft, rich feel that elevates any chair.
Velvet can definitely add a touch of drama and elegance to a dining space. But like anything luxurious, it needs a little extra care.
Yeah, I can see that.
Regular cleaning is key to keeping it looking its best.
Got it. Now, the guide also mentions chenille as a velvet alternative. What's the deal with that?
Oh, chenille is great. If you love that velvet look and feel, but you want something a bit tougher, chenille is your friend. Similar texture, but generally more resistant to wear and tear. Good middle ground between luxurious and practical, I'd say.
Perfect.
Yeah.
So we talked about all the natural fibers. Now let's get to the synthetics, microfiber, and polyester. The guide calls these guys the workhorses of the fabric world. What makes them so special?
Well, they're known for being super durable,
Okay.
stain resistant, easy to clean. They're like the superheroes of the fabric world, honestly.
Wow. So are they basically invincible?
Pretty much.
Okay, that's amazing.
And you know what else? They're typically more affordable than those natural fibers.
So practical and budget friendly, always a good combo.
It is.
All right, last but not least, let's talk about outdoor furniture. I mean, you can't just slap any old fabric on a chair that's going to be, out there facing the elements, right?
Definitely not. Outdoor furniture needs fabrics that are specifically designed to handle whatever Mother Nature throws at them. That's where acrylic and solution-dyed fabrics really shine.
Okay, interesting. So what sets them apart from the indoor fabrics?
They're incredibly resistant to things like fading, mildew, and stains, even with tons of sun exposure and rain and all that.
So they're built to last.
They really are, no matter what.
Okay, so that's a good overview of like the main fabric types you might find on dining chairs.
It is, but the guide goes even deeper, you know?
Oh, I bet.
It talks about all these other factors you have to consider, things like comfort, stain resistance, aesthetics, even sustainability.
Yeah, it mentions that. So why does all that stuff matter? Like, why should someone care about those details if they're not like a furniture designer or something?
That's a great question. And trust me, understanding these factors can totally change how you see and experience design all around you, not just with furniture.
Ooh, okay, I'm intrigued. Tell me more.
I will. Let's get into all those details.
Yeah, let's do it. So we're back, and we're going to really like get into all those extra things that make a fabric, well, a good fabric for a chair.
Right. Like we were saying, there's way more to it than just the look and the feel, you know?
Yeah. And I think comfort is a great place to start. I mean, we've all been there, right? Stuck in a chair that's like a torture device.
Oh, absolutely. Like, you can have the most beautifully designed dining room in the world, but if the chairs are uncomfortable, it just ruins the whole experience.
Totally. Whether it's like a long business meeting or even just like dinner with friends, if the chairs are bad, it's all you can think about.
Yeah, it's true. And it's not just about how soft the fabric is either, right? Like, there's breathability and support to think about, too.
Okay, so it's not as simple as just picking like the plushest fabric you can find.
Not at all. There's definitely a science to it.
Makes sense. And then there's stain resistance too. Like
Yep.
that's got to be a big one, right?
Huge. I mean, think about it. Spilled drinks, dropped food, kids, pets, accidents happen.
All the time.
Ah,
And like, who wants to stress about ruining a chair every time someone spills something?
Right. A fabric that can actually handle those little mishaps is going to save you a lot of stress and probably some money in the long run, too.
For sure.
Yeah.
Okay, so comfort and stain resistance, those are practical things, I get it. But what about the look of the fabric? How much does that really matter?
Oh, aesthetics are super important. I mean, think of it like this. The fabric you choose is kind of like an outfit for the chair, right?
Okay, yeah, I like that.
And just like with clothes, the right fabric can make a statement. It can elevate a chair from just like functional to something really special.
So it's not just about picking a color I like, it's about understanding how the fabric contributes to the whole vibe of the space, right?
Exactly. Different fabrics create different feelings. A crisp linen might be perfect for like a modern minimalist room, but then a plush velvet might be better for something more traditional, maybe even glamorous.
Oh, yeah, I can see that. And then there's sustainability too, which is
Yeah.
becoming more and more important, like in every aspect of our lives, I feel like,
Ah,
including furniture.
for sure. Consumers are way more aware of, the impact their choices have on the environment, and they want furniture that's made with sustainable materials.
Like organic cotton or maybe recycled polyester.
Exactly. Those are great examples. And those fabrics are not only good for the planet, they often have like really cool textures and qualities that you don't find in conventional fabrics.
That's a win-win, basically. Good for the planet and good for design.
I think so. Now, this guide also dives into this whole world of fabric testing, which I found super interesting.
Fabric testing, that's a thing.
Oh, yeah. It's actually really important, especially if you care about things like, durability and quality.
Okay, so what kind of tests we're talking about here? Like, what do they actually test for?
Well, they test for things like color fastness, so making sure the fabric won't fade in the sun, that kind of thing.
Ah, okay, makes sense.
They also test for abrasion resistance. That's basically how well the fabric holds up to like rubbing and friction, so you know it won't wear out too quickly.
Oh, right, right. So they're basically seeing how much abuse it can take before it starts to fall apart.
Pretty much. And then there's pilling resistance too. You know those little balls of fiber that form on some fabrics?
Oh, yeah, pilling. Hate that.
Everyone does. A good quality fabric will be really resistant to that kind of thing.
Got it. So they're making sure it looks good for longer.
Exactly. And of course, they test for stain resistance. But it goes beyond, just spilling coffee or wine.
Like what?
They test for things like oils and other substances that are more common in a dining setting.
Interesting. So how accurate are these tests? Like, can they really predict how a fabric will hold up in, say, a busy restaurant with people like bumping into chairs and spilling things all the time?
That's a good point. It's hard to like perfectly replicate real world conditions in a lab setting, but these tests do give you a good idea of how a fabric will perform.
So it's like a starting point,
Yeah.
but you kind of have to be it with a grain of salt.
Yeah, I think that's fair. And one last thing they test, this is important, seam strength. You don't want the seams of your chair ripping open just because someone leaned back a little too far.
Oh, yeah. No, for sure. That would be bad. So it's like the foundation of the whole chair.
Exactly. It's all connected.
Okay, so we've talked about all these different tests, and it's clear that there's a lot that goes into making sure a fabric is, high quality. But what about like personalizing things? Can you actually get chairs made with specific fabrics to suit your own taste?
Absolutely. Customization is becoming more and more popular these days, and for good reason. It's all about, making sure the product fits your exact needs.
So if I wanted, say, like a set of really sleek leather chairs for a modern dining room, or maybe something with a bold pattern and a fun texture, that's all possible.
It is. You can choose fabrics that match your style, go with materials that can handle heavy use if you need to, and even add unique details to make something truly one of a kind. And the cool thing is, a lot of companies can turn around custom samples really quickly, like within a week or two.
Wow, that's
Yeah.
pretty impressive. Okay, so let's say I'm ready to start sourcing fabrics for my dream dining chairs. What advice does the guide have for actually finding good suppliers?
Well, it stresses the importance of really getting to know your suppliers. It's
Mhm.
not just about finding the cheapest option, right? It's about finding partners who understand your needs and can deliver on quality.
It's more about the relationship than just like a quick transaction.
Exactly. And the guide also says, and this is huge, make sure you get samples.
Oh, samples. That's such a good point.
I mean, think about it. It's like choosing paint colors.
Yeah. You got to see the real thing.
Right. Photos can only tell you so much. And when you're talking about something like fabric, the texture, the way it drapes, all that stuff, it's important to see it in person.
Okay, so samples are key. What about things like quality control? How do you know you're getting good fabric?
Don't be afraid to ask questions. Like, ask your suppliers for information on how they test their fabrics, what their quality control measures are, that kind of thing.
Transparency is important. You want to work with people you trust.
For sure. Okay, so we've talked about, like, the practical side of things, but now let's get to the fun stuff.
But the fun stuff.
Trends. What's hot in the world of dining chair fabrics right now?
Okay, spill it. What's everyone going to be sitting on this year?
Well, like we talked about earlier, eco-friendly fabrics are definitely having a moment.
Love that.
Things like organic cotton, hemp, recycled polyester, all that good stuff. Consumers are really pushing for more sustainable options, and it's great to see that reflected in design trends.
Yeah, for sure. So what else is trending? Anything besides eco-friendly stuff?
Well, we're also seeing a lot of bold colors and textures, like vibrant hues, interesting weaves, really unique patterns. I think people are looking for ways to add a bit of personality to their dining spaces.
So chairs are becoming like statement pieces.
They really are. It's
Yeah.
not just about being functional anymore. It's about making a statement and creating a space that reflects your personal style.
I love that. All right, so we've covered a ton of information in this deep dive, from different types of fabrics and how they're tested to sourcing and trends. It's really been eye-opening.
It has, and I think it just goes to show you that there's so much more to dining chair fabrics than meets the eye.
Totally. And we're not done yet. Before we wrap things up, we have a little something for our listeners to think about.
Ooh, I like this. A challenge to keep the conversation going.
Exactly. But before we get to that, we need to gather our thoughts for a minute. We'll be right back with our final takeaways and a thought-provoking question to leave you with.
All right, so we're back and ready to wrap up our deep dive into the world of dining chair fabrics.
It's amazing how much we've learned, right? We've talked about like everything from comfort and durability to sourcing and trends. I know, it's really made me realize that like picking a fabric for a chair, it's not just about the color or the pattern. It's about understanding how that choice, impacts the whole feel of a space, how
Yes,
people experience it.
definitely. I think that's one of the biggest takeaways here. Fabric choice is a big deal.
Yeah, it is.
It's an investment in the quality of the furniture, but it's also an investment in the comfort and enjoyment of everyone who uses it.
Yeah. And like you were saying earlier, it's kind of like fashion for your furniture, you
Yeah.
know? And just like with clothes, choosing the right fabric can make you feel good, make you feel confident.
Exactly. And the best part is there's no right or wrong answer. The best fabric depends on your style, the space, your budget. It's about making choices that feel good to you.
Yeah, totally. So before we go, is there like one thing you really hope our listeners will take away from this deep dive? Like, what's that little nugget of wisdom you want them to remember?
Hmm, that's a good question. I'd say next time you're out, whether it's at a restaurant or a friend's house, just take a moment to really look at the chairs. Really pay attention to the fabric, the texture, how it fits in with the whole design of the place. You'll start to see things differently, and you might even notice details you never saw before.
I love that. It's like you're giving our listeners a secret decoder ring for the design world.
Exactly. And who knows, maybe you'll even get inspired to, make some changes to your own dining space. Swap out those old chairs for something new and exciting.
Ooh, I like that idea.
Hmm.
All right, well, that brings us to the end of our deep dive, but we would love to hear from you, our listeners. If you've got any awesome dining chair stories, or if this episode made you think about making some changes to your own space, let us know. You can find us on social media, or you could even send us pictures of your favorite chairs, especially if they've got amazing fabric.
Yeah, we'd love to see them. All right, everyone, that's it for today. Until next time, happy sitting.